Alright, so as we all know, I am a Simpsons fan. Going for almost 700 episodes. There are, of course, going to be some great ones. There are going to be some bad ones. Some are going to be better than others. I know the episode Lisa Goes Gaga, which had Lady Gaga as the guest voice, is typically known to be the worst episode. I really didn't like that one, but I watched that one like years after the fact, so it didn't quite have the same impact on me as it did others. Principal and the Pauper, the one where it turns out Principal Skinner is an imposter. That one has a bad reputation, but taken on its own, I still feel it's a good episode. And of course, there are all the clip shows that don't really count as episodes. I'm sure there are a lot of other episodes that are technically worse than what we just watched. But whenever anybody has ever asked me, Brandon, what is your least favorite episode of The Simpsons? Treehouse of Horror 17 has always been the first one to jump into my mind. And just because it has that knee-jerk reaction with me, I think today we're talking about my single least favorite episode of the entire series.
Wow.
I hate this episode. And it's unfortunate that it has to be part of our discussions of the Treehouse of Horror episodes.
So for everybody listening, have you ever been to maybe some people have had this experience. Have you guys ever been to a comedy show? Ever got a chance to go see stand-up live?
Stand-up live, yes.
Okay, yes.
We had a comedy club on the cruise ships. So.
Okay, cool. Have you ever seen somebody bomb?
No.
You've never seen anybody bomb?
No.
Like
outright bomb? No. I had a different situation happen, but I wouldn't call it a bomb.
Okay, so I've seen people bomb. It's painful to watch. It's necessary for any comic. Every comic in the history of all comics have bombed and still even continue to bomb as their career goes on. The way that I felt in the audience watching somebody bomb is the way that I feel right now watching this episode. That's how I felt about it.
That's being kind.
I think I'm being kind, but
You're being
like
kind.
But like it's like every joke went for the whole like and just silence. I think it got 2 snickers out of me. And one quality snicker out of me that I can think of right now. It was in the 3rd segment, but that's it. And I took a look around when I was watching you guys, and I'm like, if one of us dropped a receipt or a piece of paper, we could hear it. That's how silent it was in this room when we were watching that.
Yeah. So without any further ado, welcome to the Midwest Horror Network's October 2020 special, where we talk about all of the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episodes. The good, the bad, and the ones where you're going to need a shoebox full of blow to get through this dreck. All right, so let's just get into it. The intro was not terrible. It was pretty much a direct knockoff of the old Tales from the Crypt intro from the HBO series, going into the castle, going down the stairs. You have sort of that 3D mapped 2D animation, which I'm sure for the time, this would have been, 2006? I'm sure for 2006 it would have looked cool. It does look a little choppy now. You have Mr. Burns as the Crypt Keeper, and you have Moe there. He's inside an Iron Maiden, and he hears Mr. Burns and Smithers talking. He's just like, listening to you guys is more torture than the actual torture. Smithers closes the Iron Maiden on him. They have a little back and forth. Moe's blood drips out and spells the title, Treehouse of Horror 17. He makes a snarky comment. Let's go into the first segment now. Whoever, I don't care. It's Married to the Blob. Who wants to talk about Married to the Blob?
Oh, that's what it was. Okay. Yeah. So a meteor crashes. This little green goop comes out. Homer eats it, which turns Homer into just this consuming monster. So he just goes around the town eating people, eats a bunch of fat people in Hawaiian shirts, and Yeah, that's essentially the whole episode. He just goes around eating people.
All right,
He also eats Dr. Phil.
this had one accidental funny moment in it, but it has nothing to do with The Simpsons at all.
It's just the Hawaiian shirts.
The Hawaiian
That's because that's
shirts.
an inside joke
That
for
is
us.
an inside joke with us, but and I don't want to give it any credit, but that's I do have to give some credit because that means something to us as a group.
Yeah, to anybody else, it's going to be like, eh.
Brandon wears a lot of Hawaiian shirts, so anytime it just is a fun little tidbit about anything. Anytime we're watching something together and there's a reference made that is specifically about one of those individual people, we will all turn our heads towards that person until they acknowledge
Like
it.
with Italians and Mark, it's Hawaiian shirts and Brandon.
Like I remember there was like maybe one or two smirks that early in this segment, like when he was with the cat in his stomach, that kind of got a little smirk for me. And I feel like there was one other thing. But then once it goes into the Sir Mix-a-Lot song, that is where this segment just takes a nosedive, and then you have that Dr. Phil where it's like, hey, it's Dr. Phil.
Sure.
That's not funny.
All right, and it had one snicker for me because I try to remain on the positive side. It had one snicker for me when he ate the German guys, and the one German guy was like, how could this possibly have happened to the German people? What have we done to deserve this kind of mistreatment? He's like, and then he went, oh yeah, right, I remember. And then he got a little snicker, but that was it. Yeah, that was it, dude. I don't remember shit else from it.
Like I've never liked this segment, and the actual animation on the meteor itself looked it was detailed, and it was more detailed than you usually get from a Simpsons episodes. I'll give credit there. Overall, this one was it wasn't funny. Like I said, it had a couple smirks, and that was it for me. Homer eating the goo at the beginning, I feel like we talked about this briefly on the last one where I was saying back in the Ned zone, even though that one I liked, they really took some liberties with Homer's intelligence on that one. And I feel that moment also took similar. I don't feel like Homer would have eaten just goo from a meteorite.
There would have been some reason and then some joke that led into it, but yeah, no.
But just like outright, oh, space marshmallow.
I'm gonna
like have it crawl into his sandwich or something. Like it's clearly not food, and it's like Homer's never really been like he wouldn't just eat something random like that.
The one of these days we're gonna have to reach out to somebody in who's like a Simpsons historian and go through all these and then like mark the ones that are like terribly bad and try to figure out like I wonder if anything was going on in the Simpsons. I've said this in previous episodes, but I wonder if this was another contract year or somebody was renegotiating or there was a new.
Sometimes you want to experiment with something and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, sometimes things just don't work.
Yeah, that's true too, I suppose.
Yeah, this one was it was gross. It wasn't the fun kind of gross either.
No.
Like, I'll talk about this a little bit more when we do our grossest moment at the end, but my pick for grossest moment for this episode is not fun gross. It's just gross. But we'll get into that later, of course. And then at the end, where he's eating the homeless people, that was just cruel.
Yeah.
Like, it felt unnecessarily cruel.
It was just and I'm not one to like I'm all down for like
dark humor,
dark and twisted and like holy shit type of humor, but like it just there's a thing with dark humor. Dark humor has to be earned.
Yeah, and
nothing about this was earned.
No.
It was just a setup for a setup, and I'm like this is just cheap and like honestly, man, like it almost didn't feel like The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like some bullshit animation show that lasted one season because of how shitty it was.
This was not good. Any last things about this one before we move on?
It was torture, and this was the first segment.
Yep. All right.
David, explain the second segment.
Title for the second one is... I don't even remember. You gotta know when to Golem. I assume they were trying to do a play on words on you gotta know when to hold them.
Oh my god. Krusty owns a golem. You write down what you want as a command. Scroll. You feed it to the golem. Golem does whatever you want him to do. And Bart uses him to bully other bullies, and yeah, that's pretty much it. It's
Ironically enough, a huge plot device from Halloween Town Part 2, the Calabar's Revenge. They incorporate a golem into that, and it's done way the fuck better in Halloween Part 2 than it is here.
yeah, just basically does
You mean
Bart's
Halloween
bidding.
Town?
I'm sorry, Halloween
I was
Town.
going to say Halloween 2
No.
is definitely a better movie than this, but
I apologize. It's Halloween Town.
I would
Town
rather
Part
watch
2.
Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 than sit through this Simpsons episode.
Yes, I agree with Brandon.
but that's just a good movie.
Oh, fuck you. But yeah,
anarchist.
Golem does Bart's bidding. They try to find a wife for the Golem and make a woman out of clay.
and
it's,
also he's a insert all Jewish stereotypes
Yep.
yeah,
character.
and so is his wife because friend.
Dude,
Joshua.
I was so fucking out once you and I went, oh no, when it turned out to
Which
be
is a
Fran-
shame
Fran
because
Drescher.
Fran Drescher actually has talent.
Yeah,
She does.
I don't know what the hell else happened in this episode.
that was pretty much it.
That's the plot?
Like, yeah,
Yeah, like
that was
I
it.
don't remember any of the things that Bart had the golem do.
I mean, he had literally the main one was using Principal Skinner as a yo-yo.
Oh yeah.
That literally was. The
And
main
then
one.
and then he killed him,
yeah, it killed him. That was pretty much it.
and then that was the end of it. And then like Chief Wiggum was gonna arrest him at the end, and then he said, "You're under arrest for the murder of Skinner," and he's like. And then the new wife was like, yeah, well, you gotta, don't arrest him. We got something, deep fried.
Yeah,
And he's like, all right, well, that's enough for me.
yeah, you could just skip that, Mark.
Yeah, like I don't like.
Like it wasn't funny.
Yeah.
No.
Like I literally have nothing about this segment. Like I'm even struggling to remember specific jokes.
Again, like
Okay, it's really the best thing about this segment has nothing to do with the actual story, and that was at the beginning when Krusty was like, "We're going to be broadcasting in HD, and here's what I'm going to look like," and he steps in front of the HD camera, and you can see like all, and it's like that felt like something that could have legitimately been in a regular episode of The Simpsons.
and been topical.
Because that had nothing to do with any of the Halloween stuff or
Yeah.
supernatural stuff or weird stuff. Like that one joke could have been in a regular episode.
You know what the funny thing is that I've said this in previous segments of our series that I can, the piece of advice I always give people if you ever want to break down the science of stand-up, watch the stand-up so many times to the point where the jokes aren't funny anymore, and then you can start to see the science behind it, like the beats and things like that. A lot of these other episodes that weren't funny, I can see where they were going. I can see, the beats of the, like the, isn't that funny? Come on. I could see that. With this, man, I can't even see anything. I can't even see like the logic behind half the shit. Like I can't even see like the beats. Like it's just
not just
arrived
that.
at nothing.
We
Like,
couldn't just
and-
understand anything.
Yeah, like the second segment was just Jewish stereotypes. It's like,
Yeah.
are you even trying? Like, there's nothing with any insight. There's nothing that's like, oh, that was clever. It's like a middle schooler would be like, what are you doing, man?
Once again, Family Guy did it better.
Dude, Family Guy has his fair share of shit episodes too. So
But at least for the most part, Family Guy is still fucking hilarious.
that is a personal bias. But
It's
but
also
that
the
being-
reason why I stopped watching The Simpsons, actually. Just Family Guy.
I get it. But I'm not gonna say that I wouldn't put this as a representation of the entire
No,
Treehouse
this
of Horror.
is
No.
this is
all.
not a representation of, like, even like there's a special pile of just the worst episodes of The Simpsons because, like we've said, it's nearing 700. Not all of them are going to be winners.
No, it's
And
possible.
Law of Averages says some are going to be just outright awful, and this is one of those outright awful ones.
to me, it was almost like it didn't even feel like a Simpsons episode. It's like all the writers went on vacation,
Yeah.
and then they hired like the juniors. They literally hired like a bunch of PAs to write the episode.
Yeah, because like with the Blob one, it's just like, oh, Homer likes to eat, and it's like somebody, it's like whoever wrote that, it's just like Homer likes to eat, and just wrote something along that, but has no regard for what his actual personality is. And then this segment is like, oh, it's Jewish stereotypes, but it's like you give none of the like even in the third segment too, none of the characters are ever given an opportunity to let their actual personalities shine through, and I think that's what really turns me off of this one more than anything else. Like I said, this doesn't even feel like Simpsons.
No,
this is like the closest thing we got to one of the characters is Homer eating a lot in the first one, and that's oh my goodness. I hate this.
Yeah, and actually though, I'm probably gonna pick I'll get to that later, but I'm probably gonna pick the second one as the worst because at least the first one and the third one I got a snicker, but
I'm probably gonna end up agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Because like with this one, I legitimately cannot remember a single thing about this one. It's like there was a golem, Fran Drescher was wasted,
and he was Jewish. That's it.
There's nothing in this segment. Nothing.
The and then Krusty has a coke problem.
Yeah.
But I already knew that. Like I didn't need to get told that. Like Krusty's made countless coke jokes throughout the entire run of The Simpsons.
Yeah.
I didn't need to know anything else. But yeah, it feels like that all the writers went on vacation and then they probably left and went, fuck, we're contractually obligated to finish up a nightmare, a Treehouse episode before we leave. We already booked our flights. Let's just let the PAs take care of it, and we'll just make it up next season or whatever. Not a big deal.
Or maybe this was like this test for their staff writers. If you can do a good job with this episode, you can have a permanent job here. They were not hired.
Yeah, I can see it.
This was. Do we have anything else to say about the second segment?
No.
Because I don't. Like there's nothing there, like unlike like the last one we could have talked about the Blob a little bit. There's nothing to talk about with this one. All right, segment 3, the day the Earth looked stupid. Mark,
Hell of a title. Hell of a title.
As Zach said as we were watching it, that's every day.
Yep. That's
the biggest laugh of this episode wasn't even in the episode. And even none of us even laughed at what Zach said, probably because we just wanted to get through this.
Yeah, that's probably true. That and the Hawaiian shirts, which again had nothing to do with the actual episode. So this is essentially the true life story of War of the Worlds. Orson Welles had a radio broadcast where he did a radio show about the War of the Worlds, which has been redone into several different films. Essentially, in the actual true life story of him doing his broadcast for War of the Worlds, the whole world went nuts. They actually thought it was legitimately real.
The story now is blown way out of proportion. Like maybe there were a few people, but it's towns were not rioting. Like there was nothing. Like it's if you were to watch the actual true life as it's happening, it would be pretty unremarkable. It's just the story is more fantastic than the actual event.
Well, I'm gonna quote you for a second though. Don't let a lie get in the way of a good story.
A good story, and then there's the whole "Man Who Shot Liberty Valance" thing when the legend becomes truth. Print the legend.
Exactly.
But it's might as well just briefly say the truth thing was nowhere near. But even 1% of what you would believe it is, based on what
this episode is based on the legendary version of what happened, which is everybody heard the broadcast. And then started to riot and then act like idiots. I guess a bunch of them decided that they're only attacking humans, so they're going to behave like barnyard animals. That's really where I checked out, and I'm like, there's nothing redeemable about this at all.
And it's like, this goes back to the whole character's personality. I think Marge was the one that came up with the barnyard thing.
That would never happen.
No.
Ever. So that happened. And then they cut back to Orson Welles, who's actually doing that. And the one snicker I got was when he was signaling over to his sound...
The Foley guy?
The sound guy. And he was saying, make these sound effects. And Then finally he was like made some ridiculous request.
Yeah, it was like
the guy
they're grinding up humans, and he's just like has an egg beater in the cornflakes.
And then they're riding through the rain on horses, and then
then it's like now they're playing the xylophone while bowling next to a thing, and then the Foley guy just holds up a sign, "Screw you,"
and I'm like, and then that was it. Like that was the one snicker that it got out of me.
I'll agree with that.
And then all of a sudden, it tracks over to Kane and Kodos, who are once again they're better placed than they have been in the past.
It's not they're part of the story. They're not tacked on.
Correct.
That doesn't mean it's good.
Correct. So they say foolish humans. They think now all their guard is down. So now we're gonna really invade. And then they actually invade. Orson Welles comes to say, hey, this is real, and they don't believe it. Chief Wiggum gets his life force and everything sucked out of him, and then ends up to be just skin.
Which that did look kind of gross when
it was. I probably picked that as one of my more grosser moments of these segments. And then they decided to make a political statement about how this is related to the Iraq War. Because that's just nice and topical, and that's what you want to see in your comedy sketch.
Like
a very uncomfortable reference to the Iraq War and how they had massive weapons of destruction. And I went, wow.
If the silence in the room wasn't deafening enough, that joke just sucked all the oxygen out of the air.
And dude, you know what the hilarious part is? Not hilarious, haha, but ironic. It sucked the air out of the room in 2020. I couldn't imagine what it fucking did in 05 or 06 or whenever the hell this came out.
This would have been 06.
This would have been 06. Like, I can imagine what that
probably
was like.
Probably written in 05, aired in 06.
So, this was...
And then it just ends on that landscape for like a good 30 seconds with nothing happening. And like maybe a landmine explodes.
And then it plays I Want to Set the World on Fire, which made me want to end my viewing of this and then go play Fallout.
Yep.
Like that's I literally turned to Zach and I'm like, it's like, dude, I want to go play, and he's like Fallout, and I'm like, yeah, we're both thinking the same thing, and I'm like, I was like, wow, like, and it just sucked the air out of.
There's a way to satirize the situation,
and I'm always down for.
Yes.
I'm down for any type of comedy. I have a very simple rule about comedy. Did it make me laugh?
Yeah.
That's it.
I have laughed at things I agree with. I have laughed at things I disagree with. And funny is funny.
I'm always for funny is funny. It's very, very, very black and white. But when you choose to, you know what?
And it didn't help that this segment, that joke was following 3 dead air segments.
Yep, that helped.
And then it just comes in with that.
And here's the problem, though. When you sacrifice the humor to make a point, you've already lost your audience. That's it. Like, that's the, written in verse right there.
That actually reminds me of a story my dad told me once. He has these couple friends. They love going to concerts. Mm-hmm. Huge concert goers. And they said one of their favorite concerts that they've ever been to is Meatloaf. Mm-hmm. He puts on a fantastic show.
Hell yeah.
Audience was into it. One of their least favorite was Phil Collins. Because even though Phil Collins has some good music, what made them not like his actual live concert performance is they said literally half the time he was up there, in between the songs, he would just talk about politics. It would kill the mood of the entire show. Like literally, he would just stop the show to talk about politics in between songs. And that's not why people paid to go to a Phil Collins concert.
Correct. And this is not the reason, not the place to,
Yeah.
People watch The Simpsons to be
Simpsons can satirize
Hell yeah.
A lot of stuff, and they have. And they've done it well before. This was not done well.
I would be very interested to, and I know I'm going to put Brandon in a fact-finding curiosity. I'd be very interested to see if this is different, this is different writers, or has even more like writers than it normally does on an episode, because that's what it feels like. It feels like that probably the main writers just set it up and then went on vacation and let the rest.
I'm
of the
not going
people.
to do too much of a search, but while I am checking the IMDb, David, Zach, do you guys have any thoughts on this one? There's only one credited writer for this whole episode.
Oh,
Probably why.
that's even worse.
This episode's bad, but it's just as bad as most of the other episodes, in my opinion. There's nothing that really separates this episode from most of the others.
I I can't disagree with you more. Dude, and again, you
Like I said, Homer's a fucking idiot.
That's beside the point.
Like, that first episode, you say he's not that stupid in other episodes. I have failed to see that. Now, I know I don't watch most of the Simpsons episodes, but almost every episode I see,
Golden Age Simpsons.
he is a fucking moron.
He's not smart, but he is not the idiot, jerk-ass Homer idiot. That's so many people. Jerk-ass Homer is the actual term fans use. Yes, it is.
Really?
Find any hardcore Simpsons fan and ask them, is jerk-ass Homer a thing? They will tell you yes.
Dude, Peter's illegal retarded.
Yeah, I know, but at least he's still smarter than Homer.
No,
and at least he's funny.
They're both idiots.
Don't get me wrong. Peter's an idiot. He's still smarter than Homer.
It's like I'm not saying Homer was ever smart, but he has always. But Golden Age Homer has at least had an awareness of the life around him, his family, his job. Like, he's not this empty-headed buffoon.
I get that.
And it's something, I don't know which season off the top of my head, but just somewhere he became the Homer that you see him as. And that's not the real Homer to any true Simpsons fan.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
The Homer we got in this episode is somebody who's never seen an episode before, their interpretation of that Homer.
Yeah, that's even worse. That's even more. That's even more Funhouse mirrory.
Yeah, I'd rather watch this episode again than watching A24's Ghost Story or Maximum Overdrive. So it wasn't that bad.
A24's Maximum Overdrive. Yo, they wish they made that fucking movie.
Yeah. I'd shoot myself. I had to watch this episode again now.
It was bad.
It's still not as bad as The Raven.
But anyway, it was interesting because I was like, oh, this is how Zach sees everything. Every Simpsons episode.
Yeah, true.
I put on the Zachary Smith fucking glasses for an hour.
Welcome what I have to deal
It was
with.
22 minutes, Mark.
It's like this poor guy.
22 minutes.
Yeah, that's
It
not what
felt like an hour.
That's not what it fucking feels like every time we do this.
All right. Any last thoughts on segment 3 before we do our wrap up?
No.
Just wrap it up.
Okay. Funniest moment, Foley guy.
Void.
I'll
Next
accept it
question.
this time.
They
David, Mark.
do the screw you sign, and that's barely.
Yeah.
Wait, what was the screw you sign?
When
Actually,
Foley-
don't
the
answer
Foley
that.
guy.
Keep going.
No, when he made
Oh,
the sound guy
sure.
did the ridiculous
All right,
shit.
next question.
Mine was the actual intro because one of the Nitos when Mo was being tortured.
Oh, the right nipple spike.
Yeah,
It was
felt
dull.
a little dull, and that was kind of funny.
Scariest, creepiest, or most suitable for this episode, grossest moment.
Void.
This is a lot of examples that you can use. Dude, I'm gonna say, would you accept disturbing as well?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the fucking homeless thing, man, because that was disturbing, and the more I think about it, the more it fucking bothers me. Like, it felt extremely mean spirited, and
It's like,
and kind of horrifying.
that would have been right at home in like a Soylent Green spoof.
All right,
Do you know Soylent Green?
I don't.
So basically, Soylent Green takes place in this future where the Earth is just so overpopulated, just full of garbage, and there's this food that's being sold that is just insanely popular called Soylent Green, and basically the twist ending is Soylent Green is actually people. So the government is rounding up people into these camps, killing them, processing them into food, and using it to feed an overpopulated world.
Jesus.
Fucking god.
Yeah, it was just disturbing.
Incentive-based eugenics, people.
Mine is going to be the intro. Mo getting tortured and blood comes out just because the intro is my favorite part of the episode. So everything that we have is going to be picked from the intro.
Zach?
Void. Next question.
For this episode, I'll accept it. Mine is at the beginning after Homer ate the goo and it escapes from his nose and he just sucks it back into his nose.
Yeah,
And
that was
it
nasty.
escapes from every orifice in his head and he sucks it back. That was just gross. And it wasn't fun gross, but it was gross. Worst segment of the episode.
2.
2.
Void. Next question.
Nope.
No, you got to pick one this time.
The whole damn thing.
Nope.
Nope.
It doesn't really matter which one you choose.
That's the thing.
They're all really
terrible.
bad.
That's
Yeah.
the fucking problem.
But one had to be worse than the others
No, they
somehow.
don't. They can all be equally fucking
I'm
terrible.
gonna go back to the reason why I picked 2, which was at least in the first and the third one, I had at least one snicker, but 2, nothing.
I'm going
Yeah.
with 2 as well, just because I don't remember a single thing about it.
He's not wrong.
It
Wasn't
I
funny.
didn't even remember what the fuck. I didn't remember 2 or 1.
Dude, like
That's how bad
literally
this
a
episode
golem
was.
and Jewish stereotypes. That's it.
Yeah.
Fucking 2. Move on.
Unanimous.
Yeah. Favorite,
Void. Move on.
least worst segment?
3 by default.
I don't know.
Void. Move
Intro.
on. David says intro.
I
Void.
enjoyed
Move
the
on.
intro.
I'm going to go with 1.
Even he
3.
doesn't believe that.
I don't even.
Even he doesn't believe it. Again, just fucking say it. Void. Move on.
Intro.
Those are all the choices, Brendan. You can't choose all of them. You can't like piecemeal and then eventually equals out to be the whole episode.
Yes, you can, Brandon.
'Cause
Don't
it's
let
like,
Mark be a
alright.
bad influence on you.
Because, 3 is the best core concept of them. But 3 also ended with, as we said, sucking all the oxygen out of the room. And that makes me not want to pick 3. Whereas 1,
Was consistent.
it was consistently awful. I
Did have that tasteless
Say it,
joke.
Brandon. Say
I
void.
hated them all.
Void. Move on. There you go. Say it.
Say intro.
Fucking say it.
Because I seriously thought that the episode would have been great. Because it started off great with that intro. Traditional treehouse.
I don't ever want to hear the word great in this episode in the same sentence, David.
Tough shit, Mark.
I agree with Mark.
Intro.
Intro.
Yay, we figured it out. We arrived somewhere.
Yeah, like I said, this may actually be my least favorite episode of the entire series.
And you made us watch it.
Well, it was one of the Treehouse of Horrors, and as much as I don't like it, I'm standing by what we said we're going to do.
We could have literally put Void Move On as a skit, and it would have been funnier than this fucking episode.
I'm not going to disagree with that because it is true, but at least we stuck to our principles. We did it. We got through it. Everyone, thank you for listening to this episode of the Midwest Horror Network.
Dude, they saw the title and they said, fuck you. That's what's happening.
If you're still listening, thank you very much.
You got to hear our thoughts.
Yay.
Thank you for braving it with us.
No, you got to hear these two complain for about however long this fucking podcast turns out.
This is easily one of our shortest ones out of this little series we're doing.
Cool.
And Zach already committed emotional suicide halfway through.
I committed emotional suicide
Yeah.
the moment we started this fucking idea.
Okay. Anyway, thank you for listening. You can hear our regular podcast, the Nightmare Podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to look us up on social media, on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and at Midwest Horror Network.
And of course, if you're over on YouTube, make sure you click that subscribe button and that little dingy bell to make sure that every time we post a video, you are notified about it. Thank you so much, and remember to tell your aunts, brothers, sisters, uncles, best friends all about the Midwest Horror Network. Thank you so much for braving with us through this train wreck, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Try to have a happy October 17th.